Compassion. I'm going to speak about compassion today. Not a very popular topic. Most people want to hear about drama, controversy, death, misery, suffering. That's the main theme on headline news or mainline media news, that's for sure. But what we need in the world is more compassion. Now let's take, for example, I wanted to talk about the health crisis we've had for the last couple of years, but I need to stay away from that. I was reading some threads on Twitter, and I think we all know how let me see, I don't like to use the word toxic, but how they can be, how hateful some of those can be. And of course you have the people that are bad-mouthing the people who still wear the masks, and then you have the people who wear the masks who bad-mouth the other people. And what is the problem with that when you think about it? I mean, if you feel better wearing a mask and you feel safer, actually, you're probably better off if you do wear it. I'm not a masker. I don't wear masks, but why don't we be compassionate for the people who are still afraid? Some people would even call them victims. And what does compassion actually mean? Here, the definition is sympathy, pity, and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. The victims should be treated with compassion. Okay, if you're a person who believes that this whole thing that went on the last couple, 2 or 3 years was a big scam, or that it was some ploy to make money, and I'm not saying you're right or wrong, I lean that way myself. But if you really believe that, then you have to look at these other people who fell into the narrative as victims. Then why shouldn't we have compassion on those people? And some of you may say, well, if it were up to them, they would have forced us to comply with the agenda. And you're right, but and for you guys who did have to comply because you were going to lose your jobs, it's a bigger thing for you to have compassion on those people than it would be for me, because I wasn't affected by it like that. So you're actually being called to be a bigger man, or a more loving person than I am, to have compassion on these people. And if you're on the other side of the issue where you think that everybody should have complied, and you think that those people just don't get it, then if you think they're wrong, then have compassion for the way they feel about things. I listened to a Tate video today, a little clip, and I know some of you like Tate, some of you don't like Tate, but he talked about how the higher-ups, the elites, and the people who really control the world, which is not always the politicians, like to keep us at each other's throats. Because if we stay divided, think about the U.S. United we stand, divided we fall. Look at the division we have in our country today. Blacks against whites, whites against blacks, Asians against whites, Asians against blacks, transgenders against straights. I mean, it just goes on and on. Everybody against everybody. When you meet these people, the abortion rights against the anti-abortion rights, all these things, the media keeps us, it seems that they want to keep us hating each other. If you believe what another group is doing is wrong, then shouldn't you have compassion for that group and empathy and try to understand them? All the great philosophers and brilliant people throughout history will tell you that to understand is better to be understood. It's better to understand than to be understood. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go along with what they're doing, but if you can understand where they're coming from, you have a better chance, if that's what you want to do, to work something out with them or to get them to see your point of view. But if it's true, everything you put out comes back to you, and you want to be understood, I think we all want to be understood, then we need to try to understand other people. As I said, I'm not saying you have to go along with whoever you think is wrong, but if you can understand their point of view, and that's not easy. But most things in life that are worthwhile are not easy. Well, let's take it with women. I know a lot of you guys like me to talk about women. You can sit around and badmouth women, say women are like this, women are like that, women do this, women do that. I don't even know why they do it. They're crazy, they're this, they're that. That's never going to get you anywhere with women. And if you didn't care about women, if you didn't like women, if you didn't want to spend time with women, you wouldn't even be concerned about it. The opposite of hate, or the opposite of love, is not hate, it's indifference. So if you're hating on what women do, you love women, if you can understand that, if it makes any sense to you. You want them to be different because you want to have something with them. Well, they're not going to be different. You're not going to change their mind. You need to try to understand women. Now, you'll never understand women completely because you're not a woman. But you can have a more understanding for how they are and have more tolerance. Don't you want them to have tolerance for how you are? Because women sit around and think the same things about men. They just don't understand men. Let's talk about that. What about a woman? She's really in love with a guy, and he says he's in love with her. And he meets some other woman, and he dumps her. You think she's not hurt? Some of you guys will say, well, she'll just go find somebody else. She'll just go on and hop onto another one. What do they call that? Monkey branching. Yeah, but women have feelings just like you do. Yes, it may be easier for them to find someone, but you think they're not hurt? I've broken up with women before. I've left almost every woman I was ever with. Now, some of them cheated on me before I left them, but I left them. It was hard for them to let go. Not easy for me to let go either, but I made the choice to leave, to go on with my life. You think they weren't hurt? You think maybe they didn't sit and think, why did he leave me? I was good to him. I treated him well. They have the same thoughts, emotions, and feelings that you do. I mean, similar. We all think differently, of course. But all of us have emotions, and we feel those emotions. Hopefully you feel your emotions. So if I go back to compassion here and empathy, we need to try to be understanding of people even when they don't agree with us. I mean, like the gender thing and a lot of these things, I don't understand that, but I try to understand it. And there were things I've done in my life that were different from what other people did. I was a hippie, as some of you know, and that was not accepted back in the day. Rednecks picked on me. I like rednecks today, okay, but I had trouble. I got in fights. I was bullied. Okay, that's part of life. A lot of those people I'm friends with today that bullied me and didn't accept me. So I have to try to understand some of these people in the way they want to express themselves. Now, the media would have us think that, I think the media would have us think differently. They like to keep things stirred up. See, if they keep the pot stirred up, they keep everybody watching, interested. Even on social media, if you notice, they'll just show you the clips of some outrage, or seems outrageous to us because we disagree, some outlandish things. But as with my experience of talking to some people here a week or two ago who had different ideas than I did, once I actually talked to them in person, their views were not near as radical as I thought they were, because the only information I got about it before was from the media and my personal experience. And this was more personal experience, which I got, so it gave me a different understanding of these people. I still don't agree with what they're doing, but I understand them more, and I'm not as, how do I say, emotionally fired up about what they want as I was before. But the media shows you the best clips or parts that they know will get the other side, the people who disagree, worked up. They show the more radical parts of it. Just like we have Christians here. It's like some of the other religions. They say, oh, they want to kill all of us. They want to do all this. That's what their religion teaches. Maybe it does. But look at our religion. Look at the Bible. What does the Old Testament say? It tells us to go out and get rid of it. It shows examples of men of God killing the infidels. No, we call them what? Non-believers, whatever we call them. So our Bible teaches the same thing if you were from somewhere else looking at it from a different point of view. But we need to look at things in a contextual way from a wider viewpoint. We need to step back away from our emotions and look at things and people from a different point of view. Just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean you have to hate that person. And as I said back to Twitter, it's like some of that stuff is so hateful. I don't understand. I mean, maybe they just do it for fun. I remember when I was younger, I liked to argue just for fun. I can't remember being that hateful. Because to disagree with someone, you don't have to hate the person. If you don't agree with people who wear masks, or if you don't agree with people who got the stick in their arm or whatever your point of view is on that, you don't have to hate the people who didn't do it or who did do it, whichever side you're on. And we don't have to force other people to do things because we did them or we didn't do them. I mean, that works both ways. And whenever we act on fear, we're really setting ourselves up for division and problems. And there again, I think the media really plays on fear. The water you're drinking may be killing you. Story at 10. There you go. They were doing that years ago. I better watch that. I better see what's going on. Yeah, well, so you got to remember that. Everything you see on the behind the screen, even what I'm telling you, don't pay any attention to what I'm telling you. Just take what I'm telling you and use it to do your own research. Stop and think the next time before you get angry at somebody because they have a different point of view than you do and you think they should think exactly like you do. That person has not walked in your shoes. They have not lived the same life you have lived. And besides that, the resentment and the anger doesn't help you and it doesn't hurt them. Resentment eats up the container it's stored in. So if you get angry at other groups of people for the way they believe, and I know you may say, well, they're trying to make me do what they want to do, and I understand that. But still, you'll get further towards your goal, whatever that may happen to be, if you're in that situation, by trying to understand them. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them, and it doesn't mean you have to do what they're doing. It doesn't mean you have to submit to their agenda. But if you understand them, you have more leverage or power in the situation than if you just get angry and treat them like they're ignorant, like they're stupid, like they have no sense, like, gee whiz, they're crazy. Or talk about them badly or belittle them. And if you can try to understand them, they're more likely to try to understand you. That's kind of how life works. Now, with that being said, you guys know I'm a fighter. I like to fight. But pick your battles. Pick your battles. And only battle when it is necessary. I'm not advocating violence. So let's get that clear. All right, that's all I have time for today. If you'd like to get my help personally, MarksInspiration.com is my website, or you can contact me directly at MarksInspirationalGuidance@gmail.com. Both of those are in the description. Have a great day. Take care.